Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Marketing 101 for Chiropractors. A very cool guest this week. We got Dr. Christine Zapata, who is not only a great chiropractor and upper cervical doc and all the good stuff that we've known each other over the years, but co-author of Book Yourself Solid for Chiropractors. You may have heard the name of the book, but it's new, the chiropractor part, and she's the one doing it all. So thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Super
tell us all about the
excited to be
book.
on
Tell us
here.
about what made you want to do it. I mean, that seems like a big task to try and tackle
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the whole thing came about about a year ago, and I was approached by Michael Port to write this book because I have essentially been using the Book Yourself Solid concepts and strategies in my own chiropractic business for probably the last 7 or 8 years. And because Michael was told that I had utilized the concepts in my own practice and was able to really turn my practice around. I had gotten exposed to Book Yourself Solid at a point when I was on the verge of burnout. And I needed to do something different in my business so that I would feel more joyful, have more fun, and take care of people that energized me and inspired me. And so through the years, I've just applied a lot of these concepts in my own practice. And when Michael found out that I was utilizing these and was also sharing it with my coaching clients, I was approached to write this book. And it's essentially the Book Yourself Solid, the original book that Michael wrote many, many moons ago. It just now has a chiropractic twist to it. So there's a lot of chiropractic examples in the book, which I think will be really beneficial for chiropractors because then they can actually see how these concepts can be applied in their chiropractic practice. And it doesn't matter if they practice upper cervical like I do, or if they do a different technique. These concepts can really be applied to any chiropractic office. And I think that's what makes the Book Yourself Solid system so fantastic is the concepts can really be applied to any service-based business. And the chiropractic vertical is just the first of many that are coming. So
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, I use the Book Yourself Solid as well. I mean, it's just the principles are there, just like anything else. I mean, principles of life, principles of finance, principles of everything. You take those things and you have to apply them to what you do. If you're an accountant, you do accounting. If you do chiropractic, you do chiropractic. So, but it's so cool that you did it for chiropractors because when you read a book that is specific, it's tangible things you can take immediately and just copy
yes,
and paste.
yes.
When you read Michael's book, it's like, okay, well, how do I do the velvet rope thing and really
Mhm.
pick my ideal client when he's thinking about, the examples in that are more like insurance based or client based or like mega based. But it's really cool like what you've done with it. So that's great. So guys, get the book. I mean, Amazon, right? Probably the best way to get it.
Yes, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's going to be available on really all the streaming and
Book outlets.
all
Yeah.
the different. Yeah, yep.
It's out there. That's awesome. That's so great. So tell us a little about you and your chiropractic journey. I mean, what got you in there? How did you blow up in Seattle? I mean, if you guys don't know Christine, go snoop on her social media. Like this, you're going to learn a lot about how it all comes to fruition, and you're really going to help me uh, understand the importance of getting out there and having a presence and being loud and speaking in your community. But tell us about how you got to this point of growing a great practice and being a huge asset now to your community.
Yeah, I got into chiropractic many years ago, and it was my own personal experience that really got me going down this path. And I went to chiropractic school thinking that I was going to be practicing in my hometown. I'm originally from San Francisco, and I thought that I would do something completely different than what I'm doing now. I ended up going right into an associateship when I got out of chiropractic school. And it was one where I didn't necessarily get I got a ton of information and a ton of experience learning what was necessary to be a really good chiropractor because it's just very different than the clinical experience I had in the health center at school. And while I got a lot of good experience working as a chiropractor, what I really wanted from an associateship was the business skills that were necessary to be successful in a chiropractic business. My goal was always to own my own clinic. I just didn't know how I was going to do that straight out of school, coming out with $250,000 in student loan debt. And so I decided to go down the route of working as an associate doctor. When I didn't get what I wanted in the first one, I found another opportunity in Seattle that would give me a little bit more of the business foundation. And that's really what I wanted because that's something that I was lacking. And ended up working as an associate doctor in Seattle for several years and got to a point where my practice within the main clinic of my mentors I ended up going out the space or outgrowing the space, excuse me. We opened up a satellite clinic in another part of town. I built that up to a point where I could buy my mentor out and then become the sole owner of my clinic. And at that point, that's when I built it to a point where it was super successful. On paper, it was, I think, what a lot of chiropractors coming out of school were looking for. High volume, I was making really good money. But the thing that people may not necessarily understand, at that point, I was on the verge of burnout. I was working 12 to 14-hour days. And there would be some days where I would be super energized going in. And I would see a bunch of people that I loved working with. And by the end of that 12 to 14-hour day, I would walk out of the office with way more energy than I had walking in. And then there would be the opposite. I would walk in some days, ton of energy, super excited to take care of people, but I would see people on my schedule that I didn't necessarily do my best to work with. These were people that I would oftentimes dread seeing because I knew that the visits would take a lot longer. I would have to do way more patient education. I would have to try to convince them to stick with their care recommendations that I laid out for them initially, or I'd have to have difficult conversations with them because they weren't necessarily paying me what my care was commanding. And it just got to a point where those long days, I would walk out just feeling super stressed, super anxious, just drained of energy. And I wanted to try to do something different because I knew that I couldn't sustain that long term. And that's when I got exposed to Book Yourself Solid concepts and was able to apply that into my practice. With Book Yourself Solid, it really tries to encourage service professionals to figure out who their ideal client is. If you can understand who it is that you do your best work with, and you can really understand what are their urgent needs, what are the things that they're trying to move away from, and what are their compelling desires, what are the things that they're trying to move towards. If you can really uncover what those are and you can get really clear on who your ideal client is so that you can craft your messages so that they speak to them. You can share things on social media or your website that really reaches their subconscious, and they have these subconscious conversations and they're like, wow, Dr. Zapata is saying things those are things that I think. Like I have these issues. I'm looking for help. It looks like this is something that you might be able to help me with. And I just got really clear on who it is that I wanted to serve. And I tried to really build community around that and try to really isolate the people that I do my best work with and really try to not only craft my messaging to them, the messaging that they see either on social media or on my website. I also wanted to make sure that I crafted the experience in my office so that when they did come into my office, they felt like they were in the right place and that the things that we offer, the things that I do, they're really designed to tailor to those people. And by doing this, I just found that my schedule ended up getting booked with more of the people that I wanted to see and less of the people that I did not necessarily do my best work with. And I've just found that over the years, by doing these things, it's really allowed me to be on the minds of the people in the community who want to work with me. You'd kind of alluded to the things that I've done over the years to get to where I am in Seattle. I've been in Seattle for 15 years, and my clinic is now the highest rated chiropractic clinic in all of Seattle. And there are hundreds of chiropractors right in the heart of Seattle. And one of the things that Michael Port and I talked about as we were writing the book was there's something that he said that really stuck out to me. And it was the more you blend in, the more you fade away. It's really
Mhm.
important that you are bold and that you stand out among the crowd so that the people that you're meant to serve will become aware of you, start to see what it is that you do. They'll look at your foundation, your business foundation. Again, there's so much information that is available to people. They're going to do their research, they're going to look you up before they even reach out to you to potentially work with you. And so if they're looking at your social media and your website and the things that you're doing out in the community, and it really resonates with them, then they'll give you opportunities to earn their trust over time. And when the time is right and they want to work with you, they'll end up working with you. And
Right.
so I really just feel that with what I've been able to do over the years, where I've really tried to tailor everything that I do towards my ideal client, I think that that's really helped tremendously in the success of my business and what I've been able to do in Seattle.
100%. And probably being very consistent with that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
One of the
awesome.
things that people may not know about me, Seattle was ground zero for COVID, and we went into lockdowns pretty early. At the time, we were only supposed to lock down for 2 weeks. And I really wanted to try to do something positive for the community. At the time, there was just so much doom and gloom. Patients that I was talking to, people in the community, they were either getting furloughed or they weren't sure if they were going to have a job. I spoke to business owners who weren't sure what was going to happen, shutting down for 2 weeks. And so I wanted to try to do something positive for the community. And I decided to leave $100 at a local business. I told myself I was going to do it every Friday for as long as lockdown was going to be in place. It was supposed to be for 2 weeks, and Seattle didn't open back up to 100% for almost 2 years. And we were consistent every Friday. We were going to do something that would highlight a local business and just encourage people to go out and support them. If they were laid off or furloughed and they had fallen on hard times, people in the community could go out to a local business and get a free latte or a lunch on us. And I think that that was something that really stood out in the community at the time because there was nobody else that was doing anything like that. And so that
Mm,
was something that I was able to do to stand out in the community. And I think that, again, it allowed people to start to look at what I was putting out on social media, what I was doing for the community, and the people that resonated with that. I think that they ended up just following me over time. And when the time came and they needed a chiropractor, there was really no other option for them. They're like, okay, well, I'm just going to go see Dr. Zapata. I've been following her since the beginning of the pandemic. I love what she's been doing in the community. And I have built enough trust and credibility with these people that, again, when the time came and they had the need, they knew that they could reach out to me for help.
yeah, it was awesome. I followed you the whole time. It was really cool, and we shared the message. Yeah, and a very cool thing is we're teaming up in July to do Get Booked Solid event. I was orchestrating this, and then we changed the name to that. Specifically, it just makes perfect sense. This is what the principles we're going to talk about, and Dr. Zapata is going to be there as a keynote speaker. So if you want to learn and dive into this deeper, she's going to show you the recipe of Book Yourself Solid on how to be successful at that. And the big thing I've learned over post COVID, after COVID, when everyone was scared seeing each other, is get in the room, get in the right place with the right people. And that's what really moves the needle forward faster. Everyone's looking for help right now. Everyone's kind of struggling in one way or another, but
Mhm.
you either choose to do the same thing over and over and try and get through different storms, or you can adapt to the storm, build a stronger boat, and navigate better. And that's
Yeah,
what Book Yourself Solid does. Is just gives you the
yeah,
right tools to do that. And you said a whole bunch. We could talk for like 3 hours now. We could just talk another hour on ideal clients. Like as soon as you were talking, I had like 10 questions. I'm like, okay, well, how did you find your ideal client? How do you tailor to your ideal client? When you how do you get a message? How do you get the awareness? How do you get the branding? So let's skip all that. You have to now come to get book solid to learn all that. And we can talk
Yep.
for hours over a 2-day
Right.
weekend. But the next question is, the importance of awareness. You talked about that. How do you build awareness? What do you do? I mean, you can't just you can give away $100 every Friday forever. You could do it. That's one strategy, but what else, how do you build that awareness in your community?
I think that if, again, going back to figuring out who your ideal client is and understanding where your target market is, or who your target market is, where do you find these people? If you can really figure out where the people that you want to serve, where they're hanging out, the places that they're going, the groups that they run in, if you can really figure that out, then you can go and essentially be in front of these people. Maybe you find that your ideal clients all work out at the same CrossFit gym. Then you might want to try to collaborate with the CrossFit gym. Or maybe you find that your ideal client is they're moms with young kids, and they all participate in the same extracurricular activities. Maybe all the kids go to the same jiu-jitsu place, or maybe they all play soccer on the same team or in the same league. If there are areas where your ideal client is going to be, then I think it's really important that you get in front of those people in any way that you can. When you figure out somewhat the target market that you're trying to serve, the beauty of it is not only will you know where to find them, but they'll oftentimes have communication networks already set up between them. And so I think that it's important to not only put things out on social media or your website, but be seen in the community so that the people that you want to serve and the people that you're meant to serve can come find you. And I think that what's really important is to understand that there are people in the community who are they're actively looking for people who can help them solve a problem that they have. And unless you're out there making sure that everybody in the community knows who you are, what you have to offer, who you serve, and what you help them with, if people don't know what that is, it's going to be hard for them to find you. And so I think that, again, one of the easiest things that you can implement, the thing that I love about the book Yourself Solid Concepts is it talks about 6 core self-promotion strategies. And the awesome thing about these strategies is they don't involve a lot of money. So you don't need a whole lot of capital to get this stuff off the ground. And while there are 6 core self-promotion strategies, you really only have to do a few of them to work on getting book solid. I think that oftentimes people look at things and they're like, well, I have to do all of these things in order to get booked. You don't necessarily have to do all of them. Again, with the Book Yourself Solid Concepts, you really only need to apply a few of them in order to get in front of the people that you are meant to take care of, and really work on building that awareness in your community.
Yeah. Yeah, great points. I mean, sometimes we can get overwhelmed when we take on a new strategy, or sometimes we're overwhelmed looking for the quick answer, the shiny thing that's going to get us out of that. So,
Mhm.
it feels like I've been repeating myself for the last 3 months, but zoning in on your ideal client cleans up so much of the smoke of business. It really does, because you may be listening to this right now and be like, oh, what do they mean by that? I mean, you have a cold laser, you do pediatrics, you do prenatal, you do all this, and then you wonder why it gets all convoluted and the message is not there. And your ideal, there's no way all of those things do the same ideal client. They don't help the same ideal client. So
Mhm.
cleaning that up can really avoid all that stress that comes with trying to decrease the bottom line and increase the revenue that everyone's always talking about. So yeah, these are all simple procedures there too. Who else in your community do you not mimic, but who else do you look up to in your community that's outside of your profession that does similar to what you do as far as awareness and marketing?
There aren't too many. I think that's, again, part of the reason why I was able to stand out in my community. I was getting a lot of messages during the pandemic from people in the community who were like, hey, I absolutely love what you're doing. I've been following you on social media. I think it's great that you support local businesses. I'm not seeing this from other people. I'm definitely not seeing this from our elected officials. I know you have a background and a career in healthcare, but have you ever considered running for mayor or city council?
Wow.
Because you're doing things that are vital to the community and making sure that the community thrives. Because we're not seeing this from our elected officials, is this something that you consider doing? And again, because nobody else does it, it's something that I think that if people really resonate with that, if they're real big supporters of local, whether it's local businesses or local nonprofits, um, it, the things that I'm doing, because there isn't anybody else doing it, it just ends up being something that can easily be amplified because people really love what I'm doing.
Right.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen too many
It was a trick
other
question. You
people.
answered it
Yeah.
perfectly. It was a trick. I knew the answer. It was a trick
Um,
question. No one
yeah.
else is doing it. That's the thing. That's what you got to do. And then watch this. You had no haters during the whole time in Seattle, going out during COVID, promoting businesses, right? Zero haters at all, right?
I did have some haters.
Yeah, of course you did.
I,
Of course you did.
I had, initially, I got really upset when haters were either commenting on my post saying,
Mm.
"Oh, she's probably getting a cut from these businesses to help promote them. This isn't genuine. This is definitely a marketing ploy." And it's like, how is this a marketing ploy when, one, I don't even mention the name of my business? If you scroll all the way through my social media and you look at the videos that we were posting, at no point did I even mention that I'm a chiropractor or that I own my own chiropractic business in Seattle, because
Mhm.
the focus was 100% on the businesses that we were trying to feature and trying
Right.
to support.
And
And
those comments stopped you in your tracks and you stopped doing it.
no,
No, they're
because
all trick
I
questions.
I easily could have. I think that
Yeah,
if my
absolutely.
desire and my commitment to take care of people in my community wasn't as strong, then yeah, I easily would have been like, "Oh, someone doesn't like this. I should probably stop."
Mhm.
But again, my commitment and my desire to support local businesses during a really challenging time and try to lead my community in a way that was different, that desire was so much stronger than getting deterred by some haters. But
I
I
know.
can understand how some service providers, some chiropractors out there, they get one negative thing and they're like, "Oh my God, I probably shouldn't do this." And it's like, well, if you stop, again, if you talked about consistency, if you're not consistent with something like this, it can easily be seen as just a marketing tactic and not something super genuine,
Yeah.
because it's something that you're like, well, I'm only going to do it for a little bit. I've definitely over the years seen other businesses imitate and try to copy the $100 tab initiative, but they've stopped after maybe like 3 weeks. And they're like, well, I didn't get any new patients. Well, that's not why we did
Yeah.
it. That's definitely been a very nice byproduct of the $100 tab initiative, because again, people just followed us on social media because they loved what we were doing. Over time, they started to not only know us and like us, but they started to trust us because they saw, okay, yep, this is something that you're consistent with doing, and you haven't skipped a beat. You definitely are showing that you care about the community and you care about people. Um, I now need a chiropractor. In fact, just earlier this week, I did a consultation with somebody who said exactly that. I've been following you since the start of the pandemic. I loved that you were supporting local businesses. Many of the businesses you were supporting were my favorites.
Mm.
I haven't been negatively affected by this. I've still been abundantly blessed. So I never used any of your offerings, but I've just continued to follow you. And now I'm at a point where I'm suffering from chronic health issues. And despite my best efforts, I'm just not getting the positive changes that I'm looking for. And I knew that I knew that you were the person that I should reach out to you because you might be able to help me. And I can't tell you how often that happens, where somebody's like, hey, I've been following you for a long time. I haven't needed you until now. But now
Right.
that I do need you, you're the only person I would consider working with.
Right, because they're following you. They may not be today, may not be tomorrow, but it could be 3 years from now. Could be,
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
amazing. And I was doing it too. And as you were saying that, I'm like, I was going to put up my hand. I'm like, yeah, 9 months. I quit after 9 months. Just everything blew up. It's okay. My excuses are my excuses. I could have continued, but those 9 months up to today, still, I've created relationships with other businesses. Some of
Mhm.
those businesses didn't even make it. They're like,
Yeah.
thank you so
Yeah.
much. You got us through that 2020, but I ended up
Yeah.
folding shop Christmas 2021.
Yep.
And
Yep.
because that was what ended up the side effects of that. But they are still coming in. They're coming in. They're still patients. They rave about us in the community. They're like,
Yeah.
you got to see Enrico. You got to see Enrico because
Yeah.
you've created that. So that's one strategy, and there's so many more. But
Mhm.
again, we don't want to take hours. This was
No, but
great.
you have
I
to
mean,
come.
get the book.
People have
Yeah,
to come
go ahead.
to
Get Book
Calgary in
Solid.
July.
You got to come to Get
Yep.
Book Solid. I think this is the first we're kind of launching it right now. This is like the first podcast to be launching the event. So July 11th and 12th in beautiful Kananaskis country. If you haven't heard of it, it's Banff National Park outside of Calgary, Canada. I mean, you're going to fly into Calgary, short drive to the resorts in the mountains. I've been joking with my close friends. I'm like, in case I put on a really crappy event, it's a beautiful location. So at least you won't feel horrible for coming on out. But it's going to be a great event. We got Zapata, Dr. David Fletcher, Dr. Ed Osborne. I mean, it's a great lineup that all decided to come on board because of the message that not only I speak, but results don't lie. We've done what you've done in Tampa. We've got a great
Mhm.
clinic. We do and we help other chiropractors too. You can reach out to Christine anytime. She loves helping you guys too. So
Yes.
I'll put all the links in there. You guys can reach out to her. You can reach out to me, and then the links for the event are coming up soon. All you need to know is where Calgary is. Find it on a map, and that's where you got to fly into. It's the closest airport and the easiest one to get to. But trust me, once you get out there, you're in the middle of the Canadian Rocky Mountains, and it's going to be July, so it's going to be amazing. Anything else you want to leave them with?
No, I hope to see people in Calgary in July. And like Dr. Enrico said, if anybody has any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help and try to be a resource for people in the community. And make sure to get Book Yourself Solid for Chiropractors on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. I think that the book will be tremendously valuable because I know from firsthand experience just how incredibly impactful the book can be. I know thousands of other people who've used Book Yourself Solid concepts and been able to get book solid. So I think this can
Yeah.
be really, really good for chiropractors.
100%. If you have anything like you're thinking at the moment, like I need some motivation, boom, go on Amazon, get the book. Tomorrow you will have the book, and you can immediately start putting in some concepts that will help change your business immediately. There's going to be things that
Yeah.
you're going to love and implement right away. Then there's going to be things you don't like that you're going to realize are kind of important that you should implement. And then if you
Mhm.
run into us, we're going to make you do it. So that's the whole thing. But great. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Have a great week.